You've done the work. You know what the problem is. You watch yourself doing it in real time, and yet you still can't stop it before it's already happened. This is not a discipline problem. It's not that you haven't done enough work. It's the work that's been happening is at the wrong level. I'm going to be really honest with you here. Most approaches that are out there treat awareness or insight as the solution to the problem. Once you see it, you can change it. And that insight is presented as the primary mechanism. Coaching, therapy, journaling, mindset work, almost all of it operates at the level of making the unconscious conscious. However, the problem is awareness doesn't dissolve the underlying pattern. It just lets you see the pattern more clearly. You observe yourself mid-reaction with perfect clarity and still complete the reaction because the pattern isn't actually living where awareness reaches. That pattern is organized at the identity level underneath that awareness. Now, there's one thing that you have to really understand. The conscious mind is where the insight happens. That's where the aha, the awareness is like, holy crap, I can't believe I've been doing this. Your subconscious identity is where the pattern is organized, and these two things are not at the same level. And they don't even communicate with each other in the way that we assume. I'm going to give you a simple example of what I mean by this. You can understand how gravity works, the physics, the math, the mechanism, if you studied science. And even though you understand gravity, you still fall when you trip. Understanding the force of gravity doesn't change the force. Awareness of a subconscious pattern does not change the subconscious that is creating it. This is the reason you can see it and you still can't stop it. And so many people I meet blame themselves. This is not a personal failure. It's an identity mismatch. You could even call it a structural mismatch. You're using conscious tools on a subconscious problem. The tool isn't wrong. It's just not operating at the level where the problem actually lives. Now, you might say, well, affirmations and journaling, those things actually have helped me change things. Yes, they've helped you change the things that are not rooted in your identity. So I want to tell you about a past client because she's just an amazing soul. She was extremely self-aware. She had spent tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, and she made great strides with that coaching. But she reached out to me several years ago when she had just made a six-figure investment in a business coach and strategy to grow her business really big. And she reached out to me because despite the coaching, she was coming up against a fear of abandonment, a fear that people would no longer support her if she really, in her words, spoke her truth. If she said what really mattered to her, what she really believed, she was afraid that people would walk away. The other thing that she was dealing with was that she was being impatient and even a little short-tempered with her kids. She said, I don't understand why, but when they need things, I feel like they are slowing me down. She had done a lot of coaching around this to shift these things in her life. She journaled, she did self-hypnosis, or she would meditate. And she knew all the tips, tricks, and tools that were out there. When we did the work and we got to the underlying patterns, what was at the root of all of this were things that actually couldn't be brought conscious without connecting at a resonant level. These were things that happened before the age of 3-4 years old that she was able to re-experience very clearly and very intricately. And what we did was we, first of all, dealt with that abandonment issue. We took care of what was behind that. And it was something that you wouldn't think that it would impact someone for their entire life. However, her mind had created a situation where anytime she was worried about not being accepted by others, not being understood by others, it connected back to this moment. And the brain is not logical. Okay. This is so important. The other thing around being rushed, it tied back to a nervous system imprint. It was not an explicit memory. It tied back to a nervous system imprint in her body of always feeling rushed. It had nothing to do with her children. We did this work and we shifted the interpretation of those experiences so that they reflected accurately what was happening in the moment. And what happened was she became really present with her kids. The relationship completely settled down. She went on to have her first 6-figure month. She published a best-selling book and started holding live events with a lot of women in the room, being what she liked to describe as unfuckwithable. She said what was on her heart. She has gone on to actually close down that business and now open up another business. When the patterns shift at the level where it actually lives, not in our understanding of it, but in the way the subconscious organizes it and prioritizes it, there's something very specific that changes. You don't have to watch yourself anymore. You don't have to catch it. Always being on guard for these things and becoming vigilant around your thoughts, you can let that go, because the thing that generated the pattern is no longer generating it. Can a random thought pop into your mind? Sure. But the key difference is the thought and the feelings behind it aren't driving your behavior. You can literally just say, yeah, not today, because you're in a space where you're not reacting to that thought anymore. You just simply don't. There's no effort to it. There's no interruption. It's just not there anymore. Where are you fully aware, but you're unable to stop it? That's the exact level of work that we do in Catalyst Recalibrated and in my VIP one-on-one client containers. And it's the reason that my business is founded on referrals, because the successful people that I work with, they get results, and they get real results, because we don't look at understanding the pattern better. We're working at the level below where the pattern is organized. So if you're at that point where you know that insight isn't enough, the details are below in the description beneath this video.